I'm Zim, and this is the Helpful Photographer Podcast, in collaboration with New York City Photo Safari. To register for a safari, please visit newyorkcityphotosafari.com. There are often times when you're not carrying a tripod, simply because they're not allowed, or you were caught unprepared, or you were simply being lazy and didn't bring one. If this is the case, what can you do? Strangely enough, one of the most creative and yet unlikely answers is to simply use a regular table lamp. You heard me right, a lamp, like the ones with a shade on it. If you unscrew the little round metal cap at the top and take the shade off, you will find that the screw holding up the shade has exactly the same thread as the tripod socket on the bottom of your camera. So all you have to do is screw your camera onto that and off you go. I'll admit, that's not the most stable thing in the world, but in a pinch, it can definitely work wonders. On the other hand, if you don't have a lamp readily available, the next easiest thing to do is simply find a place to put your camera down, like a park bench or a picnic table. Most of the time, these things are a little bit low and you'll need to be a little bit higher. So you can get a little bit higher by putting your camera on top of your bag. Because most camera bags are a little bit squishy, you can also use it to help prop the camera into position. You can also use a jacket or sweatshirt to do the same thing. Often, I find that I just need to point the camera upwards just a little bit. In that situation, I'll put my lens cap or a wallet under my lens, and this is just enough to point the camera upwards and in the right direction. Now, none of this will allow you to do vertical shots very well, if at all, but you can only do so much if you're lacking equipment. Don't forget, the reason that we actually need to do this to begin with is because we are either doing a selfie or more often than not because we need a long exposure. But all these methods are kind of precarious to begin with. So if I have to prop my camera up like this, I find that using a wireless remote shutter release or the timer function on the camera to be really helpful, because then I don't have to press the button and possibly knock the camera out of place. If you're also shooting a DSLR, I would recommend you shoot in live view as well. When you're shooting in live view, your mirror is locked up, reducing any potential vibration or movement when the shutter is fired. Sometimes I find my setup is so precarious that little bit of movement from the mirror will make my camera slip out of place. Given what I just said, please be careful and make sure that if your camera moves, it won't drop off a cliff or into a pond or onto the floor. Lastly, the beanbag or sandbag thing. If you were unwilling to carry a tripod, why would you be carrying one of these items? They're heavy and significantly less useful than a tripod for the vast majority of shooting conditions. Although I know there are reasons for using a beanbag or a sandbag for your camera, these are not the situations I'm referring to. And to be clear, a tripod is not a sandbag and a sandbag is not a tripod. Both can be very helpful depending on the type of shooting you do, but one generally can't replace the other. Good luck out there. I hope this was helpful. Until next time, keep on shooting.